Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation on the rabbit-proof fence. This essay will be an analysis of the Australian movie directed by Philip Noyce called The Rabbit-Proof Fence. This film was released in 2002 and was awarded many credits such as the AACTA Award for Best Film, London Film Critics Circle Award for Director of the Year, and the Edinburgh International Film Festival Audience Award, and many more. The story follows three girls of Aboriginal descent as they are torn away from their family to be integrated into white Australia. Being an Australian-made film, there are many elements within this film that really emphasize the fact that it is Australian. This essay will look at examples of these themes and motifs and look at how Philip Noyce was able to put them on screen. While looking at the themes and motifs that make this film so distinctly Australian, it'll also be justified why my fellow peers should know the story of the rabbit-proof fence, and why I believe it is strongly important for my peers to know and watch this film. The original story was first portrayed as a book written by Doris Pilkington Giramara. The story is based on real events that happened to Doris's mother, Molly, her sister Daisy, and her cousin Gracie, as they were forcibly taken away from their families in 1931. They were taken to a mission settlement where they would escape, following the rabbit-proof fence that runs along the mission settlement where they were taken to, back to their families. The story of Molly, Daisy, and Gracie is one of thousands who were affected by the stolen generation. The original story was first portrayed as a book written by Doris Pilkington Giramara. The story is based on real events that happened to Doris's mother, Molly, her sister Daisy, and her cousin Gracie, as they were forcibly taken away from their families in 1931. They were taken to a mission settlement where they would escape, following the rabbit-proof fence that runs along the mission settlement where they were taken to, back to their families. The story of Molly, Daisy, and Gracie is one of thousands who were affected by the stolen generation. As mentioned in the introduction, there are many themes throughout this movie that help signify that it is Australian. So, what is one of the main themes that is prominent in this film? Well, throughout the film, there is an underlying theme present that has a huge significance to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. This theme is belonging. Having a sense of belonging is a massive part about Aboriginal identity. Belonging can refer to connection to land, connection to animals, and connection to sky. During the film, there is a quote from Maud. "See that bird? That's a spirit bird. He will always look after you." This quote demonstrates the sense of belonging to the land and to all that reside on it. After this quote is said, it cuts to a close-up of a shot of a wedge-tail eagle. By cutting to a close-up of the bird, it shows a view of the importance of the bird and its relevance to the story, as it appears as a recurring motif throughout the film. Whenever the girls feel hopeless or lost, the spirit bird arrives and gives them a sense of empowerment. Referring back to the quote, as stated by Maud, the bird gives us a realization that Aboriginal people have a strong sense to wildlife and land. The sense of belonging is a common theme within most Australian films, whether it's referring to social belonging, spiritual belonging, or political belonging. This theme of belonging is always highlighted in its own way within a film. In the case of the rabbit-proof fence, it is through the motif of the spirit bird and how it directly impacts or affects the girls on their long journey home. Another key element in many Australian films is the use of country. Here in Australia, we have one of the most diverse landscapes known to man. The film The Rabbit-Proof Fence was filmed on location at Acapara, Adelaide, South Australia. Throughout the film, we the viewer are treated to many extreme wide shots, meaning that we were able to see the full scope of the environment where the action of the film is taking place. Because this film is based on real events, the director Philip Noyce wanted everything to be as real as it possibly could. This is backed up by looking at shots we see in the film. We were able to see by analysing these films the full scale of the rabbit-proof fence that the girls had to travel both in the movie and in real life. This element of nature and environment is also very prominent within Australian movies, and is particularly prominent in the rabbit-proof fence, due to the strong connection that the Aboriginal people have with the land, as previously mentioned. To have a film that depicts the story of an Aboriginal family and use the theme of belonging, which is a strong correlation to land and nature, it goes without question why Phil Norris used so many extreme wide shots to showcase the landscape, as many Australian movies often do. So why should my peers care about this film? Well, I believe my peers should know about this film and its story, as it gives us a look at Australia's not very distant dark history and how we white Australians treated the rightful traditional landowners during colonial times. My generation should have a knowledge about what happened during the stolen generation, and this film educates people on the horrors so many Aboriginal families had to endure during their lives, but does it in a way that isn't too depressing to watch, even though some of the themes and what happens on screen is quite depressing. This is supported by the quote by a film reviewer. Fortunately, this film does not become bogged down in despair or over sentimentality, and is instead filled with a curious optimism that allows the girls to elude authorities. This means that Philip Norris was able to create this very important film that will educate many generations with information that Australia's history is full of dark parts. In conclusion, the film The Rabbit-Proof Fence shows the viewer the dark parts of Australia's history, referring to the stolen generation, but shows in a way that is easy to watch and does it by following common film elements and themes that are found in many other Australian films. For example, the use of extreme wide shots of landscape and the theme of belonging. This film is one of the most important films to be created in Australia due to its historical importance. This is why I believe my peers should know the story of Molly Craig, her sister Daisy Cabell, and their cousin Grace Fields, and understand why it is so important. Thank you all for listening. On the screen, I have the links for my references, and I will also attach them in the final submission. Thank you all for listening to my presentation. Have a lovely day.